Hello, gossipers. Welcome to Reality Talk. Now, I created this segment as to bring you real world news, right? What's going on in America, what's going on around the world. You hear some of these stories and you're shaking your head like, really? In this day and time, what's going on? Any situation where you're just at a loss for words because you're saying to yourself, why is this happening? Now, with the story today, you're saying to yourself, where were the parents? Now, this is about three teenage boys, 12, 13, and 15, accused of RN a 12-year-old girl. And the 12 and 13-year-old, they are charging them as adults because of the crime, right? And usually when they're minors, they don't show their faces, but because they're charging them as adults, now these boys' faces are plastered around in Florida, in Miami. So let's take a quick look at this story and we'll talk.
This community garden on a June evening became the scene of a horrific crime at the hands of
So you're 12 years old? You're 13 years old?
two middle school aged boys,
You have a grand jury indictment charging
now
you.
facing serious charges to include kidnapping as adults, accused of a violent act of sexual battery. The 12-year-old victim telling police as she was leaving her friend's house, 13-year-old Nelson Nunez grabbed her, forcing her onto a couch in a community garden. Another boy restrained her, she said, and as 12-year-old Josiah Jones put rocks in her mouth to stop her from screaming, Nunez, she said, raped her. The co-defendants only stopping about 30 minutes later when they heard her father calling out her name. And just minutes ago, we learned from the Miami State Attorney's Office that there is a third co-defendant, a 15-year-old by the name of Xavier Tyson, who is also facing the charges in connection that he has to this incident as an adult. And those include felonies of lewd and lascivious, as well as false imprisonment.
How disturbing is that story? 12, 13, and 15. And you hear they're going to be tried as adults. That's the reason why also their picture has been released, because they're going to trial them as an adult. If that wasn't the case, we would not know what these boys looked like unless social media put it out there, which we know social media, especially the family for the young girl, might put out there. Now, also on social media, you hear where she said the stepfather was calling. There's a story going around on social media that a female neighbor saw what was going on, and she said something to them, and then they all fled. But still, true or not, this is horrific. What are our kids watching? What are they seeing? What are their life like at home for them to think this is okay? How do you think holding down a young girl, forcing her, RN her, putting rocks in her mouth, how do you see that as fit? And some might say, oh, well, the brain is not. No, at 12, 13, and 15, you're supposed to know right from wrong, especially with something that is so major. For you not to know right from wrong in that situation? Sorry about that, the phone was ringing. Now, there was a case where a school shooter went in, killed, kids, and now his father is being charged. His father was found guilty, I should say. Why? Because the father gave him a gun. He did not give him the gun to go and do what he did. He gave him a gun as to go hunting for a practice target, whatever the situation was. And I think this boy is 17. Don't quote me on that. But because he was underage, now they're going after the parents. And he's not the first parent I heard they did this to. There was another incident with an underage child, and his parents, I think it was a boy, now his parents are serving time for the crime that he did. And I'm wondering, should there be a new law? If your child misbehaves in any fashion outside of your home, where it brings harm to someone else, where it brings destruction to someone else, should you, the parents, be charged? Gossipers, what are your thoughts on that? I know some of you might say, well, You teach them the proper way in your home, and you can't do anything when they go out and there's peer pressure. You would have to find some way to reach out to your child where peer pressure on the outside is not making them lose themselves doing stuff that's not right. Therapy, whatever you have to do, take them out of the situation if you know they're around kids who are influencing them in the bad way. Now, with this here, it looks like they were from a low budget city or community in Miami. Now, we can't put blame on that. Some people were saying, oh, it's because it's the hood. That's all they know. No, that's not true. You have kids who grew up in the hood, in the projects, and they came and they come out perfectly fine. So we're not going to throw that on there. Now, do kids have a lot more going on when they're in low poverty and everything like that? Of course. It's because they don't have the access, or they don't have that foundation to keep them out of trouble. No clubs, no whatever the community might prevent. Probably they don't have programs like that to help these kids from, not doing what's illegal or anything like that in their community. But, and then people are saying the children, they're our future. Every day or every other day we're hearing about kids just doing some foul stuff. And it should make you worry, like, what is this? Well, with the war going, everything is just messed up right now. But still, back to this story. For a 12, 13, and 15-year-old not to have the wits or the brains to know that what you are doing is wrong against her will. And like I said, some are saying that she wanted to do it, but because she got caught or whatever, she turned it into R. Now, if they are found guilty and it's proven that they did do it, then they need to serve time. Those are not the examples you want for your kids to say, if we do this, we can get away with, if it's true. I have to keep saying if it's true, even though, they've been charged and everything, they pleaded not guilty. Now, one of the boys, his father, is talking about, oh, my son is only 12. He's going to lose his life and it this and that. I'm going to see if I can find that video and play.
As for Jones's father, he tells us the allegations against his son are not true.
A young black man that was visiting Miami. It was with the wrong two kids, a 15 and a 14-year-old. My son is 12 years old and has a father that takes care of him. These allegations are bogus.
When he said the black boy, I cringed. I dislike when people use the race card. Dislike it. And he's only using it because it's the justice system, right? Little black boys, they always go to jail. Your son did something that was horrific. Horrific. And you're talking about race? And this is to another, a black girl, a black child, which is not warranted, but still, you want to put race because of the system? The system might be unfair in some aspects, some cases, but in this one right here, your child did something. And it doesn't matter if he was around these boys, he partaked in it. And like I said, yes, there's peer pressure, everything like that. But if for that boy, he knows right from wrong, step aside, go tell someone. But to use the excuse of it's a black child and, he's going to go to jail without even acknowledging that your son was there, not blaming because he's around the wrong boys, then that means your son is also wrong. That means no one should be around your son too. If he's going to stand up for what those boys are doing, then somebody else can't stand with your son because they'll get in trouble too. Anyways, gossipers, what are your thoughts?